finished 2 months in Vietnam, and there are a ton of things we wish we knew before we went there. So today's video is going to be 18 things that we wish we knew about Vietnam.
We loved Vietnam. It was our favorite country in Southeast Asia, and we just had the best time there. But there was definitely a few things that would have been really helpful to know when we just got started, and we're just gonna get right into it.
Okay, so we split everything up into a bunch of different categories. This first category is called basic. So it's everything you need to know just right as soon as you get there. The first one is about the visa. It's the very first thing you need to know, and it's that the visa application for the e-visa is quite complicated. We applied for the visa on August 15th, right when the new application process started. And what you do is you go into the application portal on the Vietnam government website, and then you have to fill in all of this information. You have to submit a passport scan, and everything is super finicky. So definitely give yourself time, because our payments didn't go through, they were rejected, like it was a whole big thing. So give yourself time and make sure that you double check all of your information.
Just to add on, they just updated the length you can stay per visa for each country in August of 2023. So definitely look that up for your own specified country. For Canada, we had to pay $30 US, but we got to stay for up to 3 months with an e-visa. However, there's lots of European countries like Germany, they get 45 days visa free. So definitely look that up. Google is your friend. Check the official government websites and find out what you need to do.
We will link the official e-visa application page down below. There are a lot of third parties that will do it for you, but this is one that you should do.
Okay, so now that you know how to get into Vietnam, the next thing you want to do once you're in is probably get a SIM card for your phone. Luckily, SIM cards in Vietnam are ridiculously cheap. They're a super good deal. The best way to do it, don't get one in the airport. They're definitely overpriced. They are in all Southeast Asian airports. The best way to do it is to go to a store called the Gyeonggi-dong. It's a giant golden store. We'll put a picture on the screen here. And it's just basically just a giant phone store where they sell phones and plans. It's the best place to go. You walk right in, they all speak good English, and they'll be super nice. You walk in and say, hey, I'd like a SIM card, and they'll give you a nice laminated sheet of paper with all your options. So I bought a SIM card for 90,000 dong for 1 month, which was about 7 Canadian dollars, maybe about 5 US dollars, for 1.5 gigabytes per day for an entire month. So that's about 45 gigabytes in total. Do note you have to bring your passport with you so they can register you. There will be tons in the city. Just look it up on Google Maps. There will be one, I guarantee it.
So what happens is they'll give you a physical SIM, and then when you want to renew it for the next month, you go back and it's cheaper to renew. All you need to do is you walk up to them and you say you want to renew for another month, and they'll just renew your plan for another month.
Yeah, so we got it for 2 months, and the second month was less than half the price of the first month. So all in all, it cost me about $12 to get a SIM card for 2 months for basically unlimited data. I mean, I couldn't use 1.5 gigabytes a day, so well worth it. So the next tip in the basic section is about how to get money out. And this is something that no one seems to be talking about when they talk about Vietnam. It's totally overlooked and no one is giving good advice about it. Which ATM to use? The best one by far is VP Bank. They charge 0 commission, so you can take money out completely free at VP Bank. Other videos and other websites always tell you to go to this bank or that and they charge you whatever fee. VP Bank charges none. So I went there on our first day in Ho Chi Minh City. There's one in every big city for sure. And you just walk up, put your card in just like any other place. It works totally fine and it doesn't charge a single fee at all. So the entire 2 months of Vietnam, we didn't pay a single dollar, a single dong in ATM fees. So VP Bank is the ATM to go with. It's the best one by far.
The next category is getting around. So tip number 4 is about the buses. VIP buses in Vietnam are insane. They're so cheap and they're so comfy. We stayed in some insane ones. By far the best one was one we took from Sapa to Hanoi. That was genuinely like a bed this size as your seat on a bus. It was insane. They're super comfortable. They'll stop alongside the road at different like little rest stops, and a lot of times they have like hot food to sell you or snacks you can buy. It was just by far the best mode of transport. Beats the train, which says a lot coming from us because we love trains.
VIP buses are easily the best way to get around. They're always a great price, and they're super comfortable. You get a whole bed to yourself with a curtain and a window, and it was the best transport I've ever had on a trip in my life. So 100% recommend. It's somehow the cheapest and the best. You cannot miss these amazing buses in Vietnam. So the next tip in getting around is how to get around within the city, short distance rides, and the best way we found by far is using the Grab app. Grab is amazing in Southeast Asia, and it's really amazing in Vietnam for sure. It's the exact same as Uber if you don't know what Grab is. It's just the version of Uber that's in Southeast Asia. You just open up the app and see how much a taxi will be to wherever destination you want to go. It's always a pretty fair price, and you can even use it if you want, like if there's taxis there asking how much and you need to bargain, you can just open it up, look at how much it would be on Grab, and they'll usually take that or a bit less if you need to bargain. But it's also just really nice to just open it up, say I want to go here, click. It's really cheap, and you know the person's just going to come get you, and it'll be nice and organized and just take you right there. So definitely the best way. And a bonus tip, if you are traveling solo, you can use Grab Bike, where you order someone to come on a little motorbike, and it's under half the price of the cars, which is really nice. Most of the Grab in Vietnam is just cars, not tuk-tuks, which is nice. You get the AC, it's kind of luxurious, and it's still very cheap. Like, we rarely ever paid more than $5 Canadian for a Grab. So definitely the best way to get around if you need to drive somewhere in the city. Some people rent scooters. We don't like to because we like to play it safe, so we found it was not very expensive and not limiting at all for us to take Grab.
The next tip is about Google Maps. We use Google Maps for absolutely everything. We use it to check the reviews of our hotels before we book. We use it to check reviews for restaurants to find where to eat. We check the reviews of like activities that we're going to do. We use it for everything. So definitely do not underestimate Google Maps as a tool when you're traveling. And a lot of the times these places like the hotels and the travel agencies and the buses and the museums will have their WhatsApp numbers listed on the Google Maps page, and you can message them on WhatsApp and get information. Like, we would communicate all the time with the buses. We'd sometimes even say that we were going to be late to the bus and that sort of thing. So definitely do not underestimate using Google Maps. It's so good. Also on Google Maps, you can create a list and you can plot all of your activities in the city so that you can see everything that you want to do on just the map, and you can figure out how to get around.
Yep, Google Maps is by far the best way to find restaurants. Open it quickly, click on the restaurants tab, and then I filter by top rated, and you'll have a great swath of really good restaurants with lots of people reviewing them. I usually save a couple, like Hannah was saying, and then I'll have 5 saved in a city, and then as we're just around, I can see, oh, there's a couple of my favorites here. One of the best parts of Google Maps for restaurants is you can look and click view menu and look at the menu right there and see, oh, is this too expensive? Is there anything I like? So you don't even have to walk around. You can immediately see, oh, this has the stuff I want. It has a good price. I want to go there. So tip number 7 is our booking process. Booking for transport, like buses, ferries, trains, anything like that. So the process I usually use is checking 12Go or 12Go, as it's properly called, which is a website in Asia. It's a really good website for booking trains, buses, and ferries in Asia. You will book online and then they'll get the ticket sorted for you and everything. The only problem is they're often more expensive. Sometimes it's only a little bit and it's nice to pay that premium for them getting it all done for you, but sometimes it's twice as much or 1.5 times as much. So my process is I check on 12Go quick to see, okay, what's that standard price for the easy online option. Then I'll go and ask at our hotel. All hotels in Vietnam are willing to book things for you. They always have trains, bus tickets, wherever you want to go. So you go ask, hey, how much is the bus to here? How much is the train to here? And they'll let you know. And then next, I will go and walk. When we're going to get dinner or something, I'll just go ask a couple tour agencies in town, maybe 1 or 2, nothing crazy, just to see what their price is. Each town or city will either be everything's about the same price, even on 12Go, even on the hotel or tour agencies, or some are very different. For example, in Hoi An, we found at our tour agency the bus was less than half the price, and for a nicer VIP bus. So it's definitely worth asking. So if you're willing to put in that extra effort, definitely worth checking 12Go, then your hotel, then a tour agency. And if you want a little bonus to try even a bit harder, you can check Google Maps for the best reviewed tour agencies, and lots will say like, oh, gave me a great price on a bus, gave me a great price on a tour, and you know you can go there.
Section is accommodation, and tip number 8 I kind of mentioned a little bit already, and it is check booking.com and Google Maps for reviews of hotels before you book them, because sometimes the booking.com reviews are all out of whack with the Google reviews, so definitely check both. And it can honestly go either way. Sometimes booking.com has low reviews, but Google has high reviews, and it can go the other way as well. Check
the prices at both, because Google Maps gives a prices section, and sometimes it'll show you some other websites like Agoda often that has a much better price. So sometimes you're looking at booking.com, you like it, just go check Google Maps for the exact same hotel, and sometimes you get it $5 a night cheaper. So a quick check never hurts and can save you a lot of money.
We typically use booking.com, Agoda, and then sometimes we just walk right up to the hotel and book there. Those are the 3 you do. We don't really do anything else. They work fine for us.
Another tip for Vietnam accommodation is that hotels are actually a pretty good option. I see a lot of people saying they only stay in hostels, hostels are the cheapest, hotels aren't an option, which is definitely not true. So hostels are quite cheap, and for a couple it's still a little bit cheaper usually than a hotel, but often a room in a hostel for us would be about $6 to $8 each Canadian, but a hotel would only be 15 to 20. So it's usually about $3 to $5 extra, usually $3, for us to stay in a nice private room with a big bed and a private shower. So we usually opted for that. Just pay a little bit more. So if you're a couple or maybe traveling in a pair, you can often get a big double room or a twin room for just barely more than a hostel, and you get the luxury of a hotel. So that's always nice, and it's definitely worth looking into.
Okay, so tip number 10 in accommodation is about the off season. So the south of Vietnam has 2 seasons, wet and dry. North Vietnam has 4 full seasons, but there's typically an on and off season. And especially in the beach towns, like in Hoi An, Da Nang, Nha Trang, there is a very clear off season to book in. This off season is about like April to end of September, which checks out with when we were traveling. And in Nha Trang and Da Nang, we were getting crazy deals on our hotels because they're specifically beach towns. We were getting these really nice hotels right on the beach with breakfast included. I think in Nha Trang we paid like $17 a night for breakfast included at this really nice hotel, completely beachfront in Nha Trang. April to September, you might get a little bit of rain, but you get insane deals.
And the last tip we have for accommodation in Vietnam is tip number 11, and that's the free breakfast hotels. In a lot of places, usually the beach towns, but a lot of other places, the hotels will offer free breakfast, included with the price at a very reasonable price. And these are great hotels to stay at. It's really nice to wake up on a bit more of a schedule and just walk downstairs and have a nice breakfast made for you. Usually the option is like egg or an omelet with bread and toast and jam, or sometimes you can get the noodle soup if you want to be like a local. I had that a couple times. Some are buffet breakfast. Every time you get a nice big drink to start off your day, and it's really nice to just start off with a nice free, healthy, and Western too if you want breakfast. So it's a really nice way to start the day, and it's basically free because the prices are the same as ones without it. So definitely worth looking into as well.
And you can filter just on booking.com. You can just click breakfast included. Okay, the next section is about tours that we did and tips regarding the 2 biggest tours in Vietnam, which are the Ha Long Bay Cruise and the Ha Giang Loop tour. So the first one, for the Ha Long Bay Cruise, we went to Cat Ba Island first, which is an island in Lang Ha Bay, which is like adjacent to Ha Long Bay. Not a lot of people go there, but it is beautiful. There's a beautiful lookout. And from Cat Ba Island, you can book for cheaper than the tours leaving from Ha Long City. You can book your Ha Long Bay cruise, and it goes through Lang Ha Bay and into Ha Long Bay, and then goes back the next day. It's the same 2-day, 1-night cruise that you get from Ha Long City, but you're starting right in the middle of all of the islands, rather than leaving from Hanoi in the morning or Ha Long City in the morning and then having to sail out into all of the islands. So it's super underrated, and the tours are way less busy. We only had like 8 or 9 other people on our cruise with us, as opposed to the like 30 that go. The place that we anchored for the night, also because of the route that we took, came in on the back end of the very popular bay that everyone docks in, and there was like not another ship anywhere close to us. So we were completely off the tourist track. It was cheaper and it was just as good. And because you get into the bay early, all of the kayaking and the swimming that you do is completely tourist free. We didn't see another tour group in any of the lagoons that we kayaked into or when we were swimming. It was crazy and so underrated. And like I said, Cat Ba is a beautiful island, so we would highly recommend going to Cat Ba Island and booking your Ha Long Bay cruise from there. We went with Cat Ba Ventures and we went with Hang as our guide, so ask for him if you're booking.
Yep, definitely. I think that is personally the best tip I could give anyone about going to Vietnam. Go to Cat Ba first and do your Ha Long Bay tour from there. We did kayaking through lagoons, like Hannah said, with not a single other person there other than our tour group, which was a small tour group, and it was the best experience I ever could have imagined for Ha Long Bay. So highly recommend going there, and I highly recommend Cat Ba Adventures too. I don't usually recommend tours, but they were really great and really reasonably priced.
And we will link them in the description. And like I said, ask for Hang because he was great. Tip number 11 is about the other most popular tour in Vietnam. It is the Ha Giang Loop, and it is about how to book this. So Typically, the tours leave from Hanoi and you take a night bus into Giang city. Every night bus, whether or not you do a tour or you take it on your own, like we did from Krabi Island, will get in at 3:30 in the morning. With the tours, you get in at 3:30 and then they have a hostel arranged for you for the remainder of the night, and then you leave on your tour the next morning. We didn't really like that idea because we wanted to get a full sleep, especially because we literally came from our Halong Bay tour. So we got ourselves to Giang city, and then we stayed an extra day just to figure everything out. So we spent the day walking around, figuring out what kind of tour we wanted to book, and this is what we came up with. We have 3 decision criteria for you: price, group size, and whether or not there's an English speaking guide. So for our tour, we shopped around a lot. The price that we paid was 3.2 million Vietnamese dong for the both of us. So that's 180 Canadian dollars for the both of us to do the Giang loop. That was the best price that we found. It was the lowest price. We shopped around and we even got a little bit of a discount. So that can be your bargaining trip. That is what we paid, and we booked it with Lotus Hotel. There are 2 hostels that we think you should avoid, and typically most people think you should avoid. That is Jasmine and QT. They are the most popular hostels. They leave typically from Hanoi and they are just packed. They are so busy. So which brings me to the next tip, which is group size. Our group had around 12 people, and that it was a perfect size. It was super fun in the nights doing karaoke with everyone and eating, but like I said, Jasmine and QT have group sizes of like 30 sometimes. So around 12 people is what you want to go for. And then also English speaking guide. Some of the hostels were offering like VIP tours that had a completely English speaking tour guide for a greater price, whereas most of the tours just have someone who's like the group leader who speaks a decent amount of English and is able to guide everyone around. We originally thought that having an English speaking guide was going to be a huge factor for us, and we really wanted it, but honestly our English speaking just like group leader was great. He told us what each of the stops were, and that's kind of all you need to know. You're with your Easy Rider anyways, and the Easy Riders typically don't speak English regardless of the tour that you're doing, so that worked out perfectly fine for us. But yeah, those were the 3 things that we considered when we were booking. Like I said, we booked with Lotus and it was really great. Another big tip: when you book your tour with the hostel, they will give you a free night stay before you leave. So if you really wanted to go all out, you can contact the hostel beforehand, arrive at 3:30 a.m. and get that night stay for free and leave at 6 a.m. the next morning. Or like we did, we took the bus, we paid for a night at the hostel, and then we got the next night free with a full night's sleep before we left for the tour the next day.
The price is really important. A lot of the places try to get you with a standard price of about $100 for the tour. We only paid $65 for our tour. So most places try to get you with $100 flat as their deal, but you can pay way less than that. So just be aware, you do not have to pay $100. You can get it for 65, 70 quite easily. So don't get ripped off. Okay, tip number 14 is that if you're willing to spend a bit more money, people in Vietnam will help you book absolutely everything and organize everything super smoothly for you. So we found this tip out from one of our friends on the Giang Loop tour who had booked his entire northern Vietnam trip from the hotel he stayed in Hanoi. So what he did was, in Hanoi, he went to his hotel and asked about a trip through all of northern Vietnam. He wanted to go to Halong Bay, Giang, and Sapa, which are the 3 main cities. And they helped him organize the entire trip from Hanoi to Halong Bay, to Giang, and to Sapa, and between all of them, as well as hotels there and the tours, all in one package, completely figured out for him. And not only that, but he got like a luxury treatment the whole time we were there. They'd come up and say, "Hello sir, is everything okay with you? Is the room okay? Is the food okay?" And just give him like a personal luxury service, just the people, because clearly someone had been calling ahead and saying, "Hello, this man is coming and we want to make sure it's good." So if you want to pay a little bit more, you can ask at a hotel and they will organize any length of trip to as many places as you want and make sure it's absolutely seamless and smooth and whatever level of luxury, whatever price range you want. And they're happy to do it. So definitely, if you want that ease, you want that luxury, just ask and they are totally willing to help.
Okay, tip 15 is the first tip in the food category. And that is that obviously you should eat local when you're in Vietnam. Western food is understandably very overpriced, and the local food is delicious, so definitely try to eat local. Eat at the little hole-in-the-wall local restaurants. Like we said, you can find them on Google Maps, and it is just, the local food is just insane. We'll tell you all about our favorite dishes later on. It is so good.
And the best way to know you're eating local is when the places have the weird little metal fold-out tables and small little plastic chairs. That's a go-to sign that that's a good local restaurant in Vietnam.
Yeah, like we're not talking about like Thai, like Vietnamese food that is like at a fancy restaurant. We're talking about like where the locals are eating, hole-in-the-wall places. Like that is where you're gonna get the best food. That's where we got the best vermicelli. Like that is where you gotta go to get your food.
Yeah, and there's always tons of them, and they're always a great price, and they're always very kind to foreigners.
But honestly, if you don't feel a little uncomfortable walking into the restaurant, then it's not local enough.
Okay, so tip number 16 is just some dishes you have to try in Vietnam. In Vietnam, each region and each city has its own special dish, and you have to try tons of them. So here's some of our favorites. First is, of course, pho, a classic all over Vietnam, but mainly a specialty more in the north, but there's tons of amazing ones in the south too. Have to try that, and you'll end up eating it a lot. I ate it a lot in 2 months.
The best place to get your pho in Ho Chi Minh City is at Pho Vietnam, and it is 20,000 dong for vegetarian pho, which is like $1.
Amazing.
It's insane, the quality. So anyways, I just want to add that.
Another really famous one, specifically in Hanoi and some surrounding cities, is bun cha, which is super famous. It's a doner soup with pork meatballs in it, but they kind of taste like doner meat, and it is absolutely delicious. You dip the noodles, it's vermicelli rice noodles that you dip into the soup. They're dry and you put them in, and it is amazing. I think it was my favorite dish other than the vermicelli. Just stunning, must try in northern Vietnam. And then some other ones, there's cam gao, which is chicken on rice. It's really famous, has nice sauce, delicious. And then, of course, banh mi, the Vietnamese sub. You have them everywhere, just quick little food on the side of the street. Best street food in Vietnam, and just so fun to have a quick little banh mi snack. You'll have tons of them, and they're delicious.
Okay, tip number 17 is something that we did, and it is that the food is actually quite complicated in Vietnam. Like things like bun xeo, we would never have figured out how to eat it if we didn't do a street food tour, which is what we did in Ho Chi Minh City on like our 3rd night in this entire country. And we booked it with this company that does motorcycle street food tours with university students that want to practice their English, and they take you around and they get you all of the street food, explain what it is and how you eat it, and it was super beneficial just to also have a local to talk to really early on that speaks the same language as you, and it was so helpful to be able to figure out what to eat and how to eat it, because like I said, bun xeo, never would have figured out how to eat it.
And all of their dishes you get to season yourself with herbs and spices and sauces and sugar and salt, so it's really helpful to get an idea of what makes what flavor and what you put in each dish early on, because the pressure is on you to do it each time you get food. So it's really nice to start out with a local giving you tips and advice so that you can grow from there.
Okay, last tip, we're gonna share some expected costs for different budgets. Kirsten has meticulously tracked every single one of our expenses. We'll make a full video on it, but you know that this is like very accurate budgets. Kirsten tracks every single transaction that we make, whether it's the hotel, the tour, if I buy a drink at 7-Eleven, everything is tracked, and including our insurance and the SIM cards. These daily budgets include everything.
So, what you should expect to spend in Vietnam, I'll give these numbers in US dollars because people tend to know that more than Canadian dollars. So all these numbers I'll say are in US dollars. So we, for a couple, and we typically like to save money, we are pretty budget minded. I'd say we're more shoestring travelers. We go cheap hotels, not terrible hotels, but cheap. We spent about 40 US dollars a day in Vietnam for the two of us combined. I would say if you're a solo traveler, since you're not splitting hotels half, but you can stay in hostels, I expect maybe 30 US dollars, or if you're really cheap, 25 to 30 US dollars a day. If you're really on the cheap shoestring side, that's for activities, that's for insurance, that's for absolutely everything with all the big tours included. If you want to go a bit higher, I'd say you could do, for 40 to 50 US dollars per person, you could get really nice accommodation, VIP buses everywhere, a bit better tours, really nice everything, eating at nicer restaurants. So 40 to 50 is definitely fine. So those are the numbers what you can roughly expect to spend in Vietnam. If you want to see a really in detail breakdown of all of our expenses throughout our entire Southeast Asia trip so far, like Hannah said, I track every expense, whether it's cash at a random side street stall to our insurance, flights, everything. I track each transaction, and I have it broken down in graphs and per day, per month, per country, per city. So I'm going to make a detailed video on all of our expenses in great detail soon, that you can watch if you want to get a really in-depth one. But for now, you can check those numbers for a good estimate based on what kind of traveler you are.
Also, Kirsten will only make that video if you leave a comment down below and like and subscribe. Because everyone cares so much about the budget.
Yes.
Okay, that is our 18 tips for Vietnam. Like I said, we spent 2 months there, and this is everything that we've learned. We made note of everything, and all of this would have really, really helped us out to know beforehand. So those are the 18 things that we wish we knew before we went to Vietnam. Like I said, we spent 2 months there, and this is everything that we learned, and we're so happy that we get to share them with you now, because I think they will be very, very helpful.
We loved Vietnam. It was an amazing country. So many super cool, unique experiences there, amazing food, and amazing people. So I highly, highly recommend going there if you're in Asia, and hopefully these tips are really helpful to you if you do end up going.
If you're interested in traveling and Southeast Asia, definitely consider subscribing to our channel for more content just like this. We also have a weekly newsletter on our blog, and we have a blog where I have started posting all of these in written form. So if you like us, you can check out the rest of our content, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!
We found this out from one of our friends on the Giang loop tour, Graham, who was traveling from Australia. Just throw that all in for no reason. His wife and kid's name.
He actually lives in Perth, where Kristen's aunt lives.
Awesome. Should I restart both?
No, it's just pick up here.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
He had the tour booked in Hanoi. What? No, it makes sense. Okay, I got this.
No, I was just thinking about the gram part.
Okay, I can do this. I can do this. And it's gonna be normal.
And he was traveling from Australia. Okay, sorry, I need to keep it together. I need to keep it together.
And I need to do this. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god.
You got that on camera.
Sorry. If you're interested in content like this, consider subscribing, because we are going to make a ton of videos, and we've been traveling Asia for 5 months now, so we have a ton of vlogs. Definitely check those out.
Too much.